it could be a very different type of film, and I think that subversion is really fun, you know?
This is just living completely here, and that was fucking fun.
Who was Nora, who was Ethan before they were together, and that part is always really special. I kind of keep a diary of who Nora Parisi is, and I read it every morning before I go onto set, just to kind of make sure that she's like internalized within me.
All you have to do is nothing.
I have to ask, what was your reaction to the trailer that sets the film up like it's a rom-com and then does a massive switch partway through?
Yeah, I thought that was quite cool. You know, it does feel tonally at the start of it, like, you know, certainly in the scenes with myself and Sofia, that it could be a very different type of film, and I think that subversion is really fun, you know. Yeah. It's great. Anything that gets people talking about it, you know?
Well, and I love how much Carry On feels like a throwback to 90s and 2000s action films. This reminded me a little of Speed, a little of Red Eye, and a little of Die Hard 2. If you could have a double feature with Carry On and any other film, which would you choose?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I think the two that, you know, it makes me think of are probably Die Hard. Actually, Die Hard 1, because of the John McClane and the, you know, the Alan Rickman characters speaking to each other over, the, you know, remotely. But also Colin Farrell in Phone Booth. So maybe one of those guys. But, you know, to be even mentioned in the same breath as Die Hard is a huge compliment.
I feel like Jason Bateman in this has a Hans Gruber type quality to him, and he's terrifying in this movie. He's such a good villain.
Yeah.
Seeing as he's mostly a voice in your ear for long stretches, was he able to provide the voice during filming for you to play off of?
Yes. So when we first did those scenes, and they were very early in the shoot, Jason did the first couple of days, and he communicated with me remotely over an earpiece, and it was really helpful because it set the tone. For me, it was such a gift to kind of have that, you know, to get that sense of what it was going to feel like when all was said and done. And then, of course, we do our scenes in person together, and there are times when he wasn't around or available. We had a great, you know, actor standing in who read with me.
Well, and how much of an advantage do you think that is when you actually get to play off of the performance that we're going to then hear in the movie versus it just being, say, the director repeating the lines?
Well, I think it's great because you open the door to things feeling a little bit more spontaneous tonally. But, you know, it's not a problem the rest of the time because part of, you know, my job is to use my imagination. So, but it was a real luxury, I would say, to have Jason do some of it with me.
Well, and was there anything about the TSA that you learned that surprised you, or something from filming that you think about anytime you're in an airport now?
I mean, we shot this movie 2 years ago, so I have to be honest that a lot of the TSA training that I did before we filmed has now vacated my sieve-like mind. But, you know, I think the thing that I really like about the movie is it's definitely a celebration of people who do that job, which is a tough one. So I really, really hope that when people who work in TSA see it, that they like it.
Well, and no spoilers, but I imagine there are some higher-ups that are not too happy with Ethan. If we get a sequel, what would you like to see that explore?
That's a really interesting question. I think the thing about Carry On is he's a guy who is not really sure of who he is, and he's thrust into these sort of extraordinary circumstances, and he rises to the occasion. But he's a bit lost, I think, in this movie, and you kind of see him just struggling to keep up for most of the film. And at the end of the film, you see a guy who's a little bit more sure of himself. So I think if we were ever lucky enough to get a second bite of the apple, I'd probably want to see him be a little more fully realized, a little bit more certain of himself. In terms of the story that you would do if we were lucky enough to get a sequel, that, I am thankful to say, is the burden of a better mind than mine, because I don't know how you make that work. But hey, let's get this one out there first.
If you handle it right, you're gonna have a chance to forget it. Just relax, okay?
This reminded me a little of Speed, a little Red Eye, a little Die Hard 2. If you could choose to have a double feature with Carry On and any other film, what would you choose?
Carry On and another film. You know, I'm going to say it's just because it's the season. Carry On with Piano is great because I'm fighting in both of them. So that's what you want to do.
I love that answer. So you play a detective here, and I'm always curious as to what kind of prep work an actor goes through for a role like this. So what did you do to prepare to play Elena Cole?
Here's the thing. The physical is major in any of the kind of work that had to be done for this. She is super rote and a super disciplined figure. I think the physical, when you think about any of this, is how do they handle what is a part of the uniformity of it all. I've had the capacity, the ability to play cop roles or, authority figure roles before, and so I'm melding that history with this present call, right? And they really just are like super checking out, like, how are you handling weaponry? And I just wanted her to have that clean sharpness because everything about her is in the mind. Everything about how she operates as an agent is through intuition, and that's all the stuff that people don't want you to see because they want to be able to call out any aberrations in anyone else's humanity, to find the little nooks and crannies and things about them so that they can be clear to do what they do. So yeah.
Well, and you get to take part in the biggest action set piece of the film with the car fight. Can you talk about what went into filming that?
Just months of preparation. We're talking, it's choreography at the end of the day. It's movement. It's 2 to 3 months of moving through the video of it and working with the stunt coordinators and the stunt team and then transitioning to actually preparing to be in the car, and the dynamic with the camera department and JoBLo, like really getting to the heart of how this should feel. It was just layer on top of layer on top of layer. And just having a good relationship with Logan and being able to trust each other in that process is this is the thing that made me go, oh, I want to do this, because this is the physicality. This is getting into the body and out of the mind of so much other stuff that I've done. This is just living completely here, and that was fucking fun.
Well, and did you film it as one complete sequence, or was it individual shots stitched together? It's just the one? That's incredible.
And that's fun, right? Wonders can be interesting and dynamic if done with, with this kind of eye.
Yeah. Well, and how many takes did you guys end up doing with it?
Ooh. Definitely 7 to 10, somewhere in there.
Okay. That's much better than like a 30 to 40.
And I know that world. And that can be fun, but this is different. The fighting is a whole nother story,
Yeah.
But it's definitely in that 7 to 10 range.
I guess I woke up.
Your role as Nora serves as so much of Ethan's motivations throughout the film. Does that add any additional pressure to your scenes with him, since you have to establish a rapport in such a limited time?
I mean, walking into a film like this is pressure-filled, period. You're walking into a film with Jason Bateman, Taron Egerton, Steven Spielberg producing, massive action film, first action film. So yes, there was definitely pressure there, but the pressure that I think fuels you in a really cool way. But yes, it was really important for John, our director, that Ethan and Nora felt really solid and beautiful, and you saw that they had a really healthy relationship, and that Nora, in so many ways, kind of is the spark that ignites Ethan to kind of embark on this extraordinary adventure that he faces, and to remind himself that he always had that hero within him. So it was really beautiful, and we had to be very careful about how we did that in each scene, and also because so much heaviness was going on around Nora, right? Because it's pretty cool that for so long, no one else in the airport knows what's going on but Ethan, including, like, Nora has no idea that she has a gun pointed at her head at one point in the scene. We also wanted to make sure that whenever she was on camera, it felt like there was hope in a way. So it was important for us to accomplish that.
Well, and what was your favorite part of developing that relationship on screen?
I love creating backstories for characters, especially for a character. For characters like this, we had to kind of really imagine what their relationship was like when they met, how they met, what was their, I guess, meet cute, as the kids are saying. How long have they been together? Where did they live originally? You know, who was Nora? Who was Ethan before they were together? And that part is always really special. I kind of keep a diary of who Nora Parisi is, and I read it every morning before I go onto set, just to kind of make sure that she's, like, internalized within me.
That's amazing. Well, you get a bit into the action here.
Yes.
What was your favorite aspect of breaking away from the damsel in distress dynamic and getting in on the action?
I love that you asked that question, because that was my goal with Nora Parisi. When I read the script, the action sequence was a little different. The action sequence, she was a bit more damsel in distressy. She would be saved by Ethan. And I was very vocal that it was very important that she could save herself and that she could defend herself, because women deserved to see that represented on camera. And JoBLo and the whole team were so on board, so we were able to kind of shift it and choreograph it so that she's kind of a badass and she defends herself and physically attacks the watcher and gets herself out of there, and then also becomes crucial to Ethan's plan to being able to do what he does when the airplane is in the air.
You didn't really get to share any scenes with Jason.
I know.
And he's absolutely terrifying in this.
He's incredible in this.
It's very against type for him as well. What was your reaction when you finally saw his performance?
Oh my God, he's perfect in this. And I got a taste in our table read, of course, so just hearing his voice saying the lines of the Traveler was just, it was such a brilliant choice. And Jason Bateman is who he is for a reason. He's just extraordinary. And I think people are gonna love watching him in this, because in some way, he's like a really relatable and cool and casual, horrible villain. You know what I mean? It's really interesting how he plays it.
All you have to do is nothing.